Hello, welcome to my podcast, Life, where we discuss you, me, and life in general. Today's topic, it's nutrition. And with me, Samantha Moitt from the Health Ministry, Chief Officer of the Health Ministry, right?
Nutrition officer, yeah.
Nutrition Officer. Okay, thank you for correcting me, Samantha. Yes, so Samantha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you, Marlene, for having me and inviting me to your podcast. I'm very excited to be here. Marlene and I go way back, and we know each other through wellness. And wellness is something, as you know, that I've been doing for years and practicing for years. Nutrition is just a part of it. So yes, I work at as the Chief Nutrition Officer in the Ministry of Health, where I deal a lot with infant and young child feeding, non-communicable diseases programs such as for diabetes, hypertension, obesity, childhood obesity. On the private side, though, I still see clients privately, so I'm available for consultations. I am a group fitness instructor. I've been doing that for years. That's how I met Marlene. And recently, I am now a certified yoga instructor. So that's another thing under my belt. So yes, definitely not only teaching wellness, but promoting wellness through my lifestyle as well.
And I can contest to that. We are into wellness and we take it seriously, and we are here to educate. And why I invited you, Samantha, is to ask you to give us a little insight on nutrition, because I know your background is a lot on the dietitian, food, working with diabetes and different diseases. So if you wanted to have a balanced meal, because some of us think that, okay, I'm going to get bread and saltfish for breakfast and that's all right for the day. That could last me for quite a few hours. But it's not just about getting a bite to eat. It's about staying healthy. And especially during this time, if you want to keep your immune system up and going, if you want to stay healthy throughout life, because it's not how long you live, to me personally, it's how well you live, how long you live, right? So Samantha, if you wanted to have like a balanced meal for the day, your breakfast, and the economy is, well, it is what it is right now, and you wanted to make it as self-sufficient for the day to last, your whatever food intake you have for the day can last for a few hours, and yet it is within a budget.
Yes, so let's talk about that. Thank you for that question, Marlene. So let's start at the beginning with understanding what are you eating. So yes, persons culturally will pick certain foods because that's what they're accustomed to. So they'll pick bread and saltfish, or go and buy a bread and cheese and a soda for breakfast, and they call it breakfast because it's what they eat in the morning. But nutrition or balanced nutrition goes beyond that. We're looking at variety and getting the nutrients from different food groups. So not, let's say, for instance, breakfast we're talking about, how can we involve more nutrients and making sure that you get maximum nutrition within that one meal? So take a shake. A bread is one thing, but we can come back to that. Take a shake. So let's say, for instance, you use some sort of healthy milk, whether it's plant-based or a low-fat milk, that contains some protein. It may contain some calcium, so you're getting some of those nutrients there. Some persons may add oats. That's a whole grain, all right, which is naturally high in fiber. You're getting that right there. You may add some fruits. A banana or ripe pawpaw is very common. And if you know anything about bananas and ripe pawpaw, they're very nutrient dense. So they're filled with potassium, which is good for persons who have high blood pressure and those who want to prevent high blood pressure. Other things you can add to it, seeds, so like your flax or your chia seeds, and those are rich in omega-3s, all right? Good for the brain. It's also filling. And if you want to even add more to that, you can even add like peanut butter, like the natural peanut butter. And there we have quite a bit of nutrients, in that one shake. You can translate it again if you are doing a sandwich. If you wanted, okay, I don't feel for a shake today. How can I get it in if I have a sandwich to get in the maximum amount of nutrients? So we talked about the bread before. I usually try to go for the whole grain bread because it has more fiber. The more fiber you have in the diet, it prevents a lot of illnesses along the way. Diabetes, it controls cholesterol, it controls the weight, and so on.
And it's good for your digestive system.
Yes, and it's good for the digestive system. So the more grains it has in, the better it is for you. With regards to what you put in it, I heard you mention eggs earlier. Eggs are one of the best sources of protein because of the amount of all, you can find most of the amino acids in there. So an egg alone, it can do you wonders, in a day. Within that sandwich, some persons may at the side have their lettuce, their cucumber, their tomato. You add a piece of avocado that gives you your fat. You understand? Add some fruit at the side. So you get your vitamin C, whether it's oranges or if you do melons. And talking about budget, watermelons are now in season and you can get them at a very low price locally. You can get at $2. Yes, if you're in Antigua, yes. Yes. So you have to think beyond I need to have breakfast in and make it more about the quality of the meal and not just having a half of bread and cheese or a half of bread and saltfish.
And what I might add to that, you don't have to eat all the list above what Samantha mentioned. It's just options. So if you're on the go and you don't want to do a shake, you find you can have your egg and lettuce and a slice of toast, something like that.
Right.
Yes. So that would be
one meal.
Yeah. And then for lunch, so when should we eat the heaviest meal?
Well, in terms of when to eat, that's a very important question. Two parts here. Number one, the timing of meals is everything. So some persons say they can't eat early, so they may eat later on in the day. I always suggest though that and research has shown it is better to eat within 2 hours of waking. Even if you cannot eat a heavy meal, have something light. It can be a yogurt, a fruit, just something so that your system, wakes up, you're already doing stuff, give you a bit of energy. But with regards to timing of wheat meals, you want to look at every 4 to 5 hours. So if you ate breakfast at 8, you're looking at eating lunch between 12, 1 o'clock. For some persons, they tend to maybe delay because, I'm not really hungry at 12 or I'm not hungry at 1, I'm accustomed to eat later. But one of the things with our bodies, if you trade it to do something bad, it'll stick with you. And it's really hard to reverse that for some persons. And it isn't that your body really needs it then, but it's just that what your body gets accustomed to. All right. Same thing with water. Some persons say, well, I don't drink water throughout the day, but that is a habit. And some of these habits we want to change. So it's important that persons try to eat on time. It prevents problems later on, stomach problems, heartburn, ulcers. Some of the clients I see now, it's because of poor eating habits in the past, why they have issues now. It also can lead to overeating later if you if you don't eat on time. So you say, oh, I'm not hungry. And then when nighttime comes, you're looking all over the place to grab something. You keep picking on different snacks, even though you had your dinner. So it causes you to consume more calories and eating heavier in the evening. You asked the question about if you should have your heavier meal at lunch. Now, yes, you can have your heavier meal at lunch, but you can also have your heavier meal at breakfast. For some persons, they use that method where they have their heavier meal at breakfast and then a little lighter lunch and then a light dinner. Or you can do a light breakfast, which is more common, a heavier lunch, and then a light dinner. The problem ensues is when you have heavy breakfast, heavy lunch, and heavy dinner, right? Because, we're consuming more calories there. So it's important that, especially as we grow older, we don't need that much calories anymore. We're not growing children. We're not pregnant. It's a different story in those situations. But for adults, you're looking at tapering down. What you ate at 18 in terms of the portion can't be the same portions you're eating at 40. So it's important to look at that as well.
So then kids would need a balanced meal of 3 meals a day and snacks between, and adults. need to taper down as we get older, taper down. So yes, adults, yeah, as adults, we have to taper down our meals. We don't need that heavier meal. It's just that because now a lot of books would tell us, oh, 3 meals a day, we tend to want to eat 3 times a day because we've been like brainwashed into it. But then sometimes our body talks to us that we are not hungry. But because it's lunchtime, we now want a heavy meal, or our taste buds is controlling us.
What I also wanted to add there is that it depends on your activity during the day as well. So if you are a regular 8 to 5 worker, all right. So most of your work is done there. You would want your energy, your heaviest meal in the day, because that is when you're going to use it. Your body is not going to store as much. Your body would be in, metabolism mode using it. Opposed to if you're eating heavy at night, where you're going to sleep and it's more likely to store it. All right. It's not like we're children and we're growing in the night when we sleep. We're not putting on any height right now. So it's important that you look at it that way as well, that, you try to spread it properly throughout the day. Also know your situation. Everybody, some persons prefer to eat in the evening, heavier in the evening, and that may be because that's their family time. That's when, and you have to consider that too, because eating as a family has its benefits as well. So it depends on you. But the important thing is, especially as we grow older, you're not eating the same quantity throughout the day.
Yes. And what about having something to drink while eating? Because I mean, a lot of books now saying, you know, have water while you eat, but some books saying eat first, later down to drink. What is your intake on that?
All right, Marlene, you're so right. There are very mixed reviews to that. Um, Unfortunately, I'm still one of those who drink while I eat. I don't think it's the best practice. And recently again, as I did my yogi training, it came up again, and they're like, it's blasphemy to to drink while you eat, right? And they actually have time set up throughout the day, as you may know, where you should drink, especially water. Of course, we're promoting more water intake, all right, compared to the sweetened beverages like juices and sodas. And so it's important that first thing in the morning that you have, it doesn't have to be like lukewarm, but a room temperature glass of water or two to start the day is important for your bowels. All right. And drinking before your meal, and before lunch again, you're drinking, you keep sipping throughout that time. It's not that you're gulping it down, because I know persons will say, well, if I drink water, all that water, I'm going to be living in, the restroom. That's not necessarily true if you're sipping it throughout the day. All right. So you want to sip it throughout the day. So that way at meal times, I guess for us, it's just a cultural habit, you have a drink while you're eating. But really and truly, it's not a good practice.
And when we were talking about drinking, we were more talking about non-alcoholic beverage, really. So, I mean, I know a lot of people like to have a glass of wine, and your that's your call, right? So we can leave it as that. So I think we got a lot of information out there to our listeners. Yes, I think you did quite a. In fact, not I think you did quite well. I got some information that can work for me and I can take into consideration while working on my diet. So thank you, Samantha. It was a pleasure to have you here. I hope it worked for you. Listen up. You can listen over and over. It will be recorded. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's on YouTube. You can listen over and get some tips on your diet. And stay healthy, stay safe, and see you next time. Thank you.